The armies of Europe were on the move. The coming of the war was greeted with enormous enthusiasm in the capitals of Europe. For each nation, a cause was at hand. In St. Petersburg, a huge crowd congregated with flags, banners, icons, and portraits of Tsar Nicholas. The Emperor Nicholas responded to the chants of his people by appearing on the palace balcony overlooking the square. The entire crowd knelt at once and sang the Russian national anthem. In Paris, a French officer leaving with his regiment for Verdun wrote,
"Our great nation's heart was beating tumultuously as in days long past. Crowds were gathered at every station, behind every barrier, and at every window along our road. Cries of Vive la France and Vive l'armée could be heard everywhere, while people waved handkerchiefs and hats. The women were throwing kisses and heaped flowers on our convoy, and the young men were shouting au revoir and à bientôt. At one grade crossing, a young woman lifted her baby towards us, shouting, 'He too, like you, will go someday and do his duty.' It must have been like this in 1792. The soul of France had again attained the height of her greatest period in history."
In Berlin, the Kaiser appeared before the Reichstag dressed in a field gray army uniform to address the tumultuous crowd.
"I have no knowledge any longer of party or creed. I know only Germans. And in token thereof, I ask all of you to give me your hands."
Not only did they give him their hands, but unanimously they gave him an unprecedented war credit of 620,000 marks. In London, Saturday, August 1st, was a quiet day for the officer at London's main recruiting office. Only 8 recruits presented themselves to volunteer for duty. Then came Sunday, and Monday was an August bank holiday. When he returned to his office on August the 4th, the crowd waiting for him was so dense that it took him 20 minutes and the help of 20 policemen to get through to his desk. From that minute, he worked through the day, testing and swearing in the recruits.
The sergeant said, "Are you willing to join?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 18 and 1 month." He said, "Do you mean 19 and 1 month?" So I thought a moment. I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Right, I will sign here, please." He said, "You realize you can go overseas."
When Lord Kitchener's first appeal went out for 100,000 new recruits, what followed was unending throughout Britain. 100 men an hour, 3,000 a day, 6,000 over the war's first weekend joined the army. So many came now that many had to be turned away. In Munich, a crowd gathered in the Odeonplatz to celebrate the declaration of war. In the center of the crowd was a failed Austrian artist named Adolf Hitler. After leaving the Plaza, he had once petitioned the King of Bavaria to be allowed to volunteer for the Bavarian army. In Paris, there was no French monarch to incite the citizens. It was the departure of the city's regiments to the railroad stations which brought forth the crowds. The line of trains leaving starting areas throughout Europe was unending. The railway section of the German Great General Staff timetable accounted for the movement of 11,000 trains in the mobilization period. Feet were as important as trains in 1914. Horses' feet as well as men's feet, for after detraining in the concentration area, cavalry and infantry deployed onto the line of march. An infantry division on the march filled 14 miles of road, and the endurance of horses along with that of the infantry was pushed to the limit in the race to drive the advance forward. General von Kluck's First Army on the far right faced a march of 200 miles from detraining points to the French capital. Before Paris, however, there was Liège and Namur, and the other fortresses of the Belgian rivers which impeded any easy crossing for a German army into France.